My wife blocked my number for a Miami trip. I collected receipts, proved a double life, and won the house and a restraining order in divorce court. "I'm blocking your number while I'm gone," she declared before I could even process the first part, arms crossed like she was laying down some kind of law. "Girls' trips are none of your business, and I need complete privacy with my friends." I set down my razor and turned to face her fully. "Let me make sure I heard this right. You're announcing a trip to Miami, and you're planning to block your husband's number for the entire weekend?" "Yes. You always text me constantly when I'm out, asking what I'm doing, where I am. It's controlling, and I won't tolerate it anymore." "Controlling for wanting to know where my wife is during a weekend in Party Central, USA? So checking in with my wife makes me controlling now?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "When exactly did basic communication become a character flaw? This is what healthy marriages look like. Partners need space and independence. Healthy marriages don't involve blocking spouses and disappearing to Miami, but I kept that observation to myself for the moment. And you decided this unilaterally. No discussion, just an announcement that you're cutting off all contact while you party in Miami for 5 days. She shifted uncomfortably. "It's not partying. It's just relaxation and girl time, right? Because Miami is famous for its quiet, relaxing atmosphere." "Don't be sarcastic. The girls and I have been planning this for weeks. We're staying at this amazing resort, hitting South Beach, maybe doing some shopping. It's going to be pure relaxation. No boyfriends, no husbands, no drama." The way she emphasized no boyfriends was interesting, like she was trying to convince someone. "When do you leave?" I asked. "Thursday morning, back next Tuesday evening." And I meant what I said about the blocking. "Don't even try calling from work or your friends' phones. I'll know and I'll be furious." "Furious?" I repeated. "Because your husband tried to contact you during 5 days in Miami? You're making this sound worse than it is." "Am I? Because from where I'm standing, my wife just announced she's going to the party capital of the East Coast and plans to go completely dark for 5 days. How should that sound?" She rolled her eyes. "You're being paranoid. It's just a girl's trip to Miami with complete communication blackout." "Yeah, that's totally normal." That evening, she spent hours packing, trying on different outfits, and asking my opinion on various dresses and swimwear. For someone who wanted complete privacy from me, she seemed awfully invested in my approval of her wardrobe. "What about this one?" she asked, holding up a dress I'd never seen before. Short, tight, definitely not the kind of thing she wore to her usual girls' nights at the local wine bar. "When did you buy that?" "Last week. The girls said I needed something special for the trip. Something special for relaxation and shopping? That's quite a dress for hanging out with girlfriends." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing at all. Just observing that it's pretty glamorous for a casual trip." She huffed and continued packing. More new clothes I'd never seen. More outfits that seemed designed to attract attention. Wednesday night, she gave me her usual rundown of instructions, plus her new addition. "And remember, absolutely no contact until Tuesday evening when I'm back. I'm dead serious about this." "Crystal clear," I said. "Complete radio silence while you're in Miami for 5 days. Got it." Thursday morning, she was up early, checking her reflection multiple times and calling an Uber to the airport. I offered to drive her, but she declined quickly. "The girls are all meeting at the airport. It's easier this way." I walked her to the door with her suitcase. "Have fun in Miami," I said. "Remember what we discussed," she said, looking me directly in the eyes. "No contact. This is really important to me." "Don't worry about me," I replied with a calm smile. "I'll respect your privacy completely. In fact, I'll give you so much privacy, you'll be amazed at how private things can become." She seemed satisfied and headed to her waiting ride. As I watched the Uber disappear, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong with this picture Miami. Communication blackout, new clothes, mysterious planning sessions with the girls. If she wanted privacy, she was about to get more of it than she bargained for. Because, while she was enjoying her 5 days of relaxation, I was going to do some relaxing of my own, the kind that involved making some very important phone calls. She had just made the biggest mistake of thinking I was stupid enough to buy her story. A 5-day Miami girls trip with communication blackout? Please. Time to show her what privacy really looked like. I had the house to myself and a lot of thinking to do. My wife's dramatic exit that morning kept replaying in my head, but not for the reasons she probably hoped. I decided to start with something simple. I opened Instagram and checked her story. Nothing. Fair enough, she was probably still traveling, but then I remembered she'd mentioned the girls multiple times, so I checked their accounts too. Her best friend had posted a gym selfie from our local fitness center, timestamped 2 hours ago. Interesting, considering she was supposed to be on a plane to Miami. Her other close friend shared a coffee picture from downtown, also time-stamped recently, also very much not in Miami. I leaned back in my chair. Either her entire friend group was posting old photos to throw people off their Miami trail, or something didn't add up. I grabbed my laptop and did something I'd never done before. I checked our joint credit card account online. I knew she'd booked this trip weeks ago, so there should be charges for flights, hotels, the works. What I found was enlightening. A flight booking to Miami, yes, but only one ticket. Not 3 or 4 for the girls, just one. I scrolled through more recent charges, Uber to the airport this morning, check. But then something caught my eye from last week. A charge at Victoria's Secret for $200, another at Nordstrom for $300, a salon visit for $150. My wife doesn't spend that kind of money on herself normally, not without mentioning it. Anyway, I kept digging. There was a restaurant charge from 2 weeks ago at a place I'd never heard of, expensive. The kind of place you go for romantic dinners, not girls' lunch. My phone buzzed. A text from my buddy Jake, who works at the airport. Hey man, saw your wife at departure gate B12 earlier. Looked like she was flying, solo though. Thought you might want to know. I texted back. Thanks for the heads up. So she was definitely alone. No girls' trip, just her, Miami, and a carefully constructed lie. Came and went quietly. I used the time to think, really think about the past few months. How many late nights with the girls there had been. How many new clothes purchases. How many times she'd been secretive about her phone. I decided to visit my sister-in-law. My wife's younger sister had always been straight with me, and I had a hunch she might know something. She didn't mention any Miami trip to me, she said when I brought it up casually. Are you sure that's where she went? That's what she told me. Big girls' weekend. Total communication blackout. My sister-in-law frowned. That's weird. She usually tells me about those trips and communication blackout. That doesn't sound like her at all. It didn't sound like her because it wasn't her normal behavior. It was someone covering their tracks. I made a decision that would change everything. I called a private investigator not because I wanted to spy on my wife, but because I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I need information about a trip to Miami, I told him. My wife is there for 5 days, claims it's a girls' trip, but evidence suggests otherwise. How much do you want to know, he asked. Everything. Rolled around, and I got my first report. Hotel registration showed she was staying at a high-end resort, but the room was booked for 2 people. The reservation was made under a name I didn't recognize, a man's name. My investigator had photos my wife poolside, but not alone. She was with someone, a guy I'd never seen before, looking very comfortable with each other. The photos were professional, discreet, but they told the whole story. This wasn't infidelity in the traditional sense. This was something else entirely. Brought more revelations. Financial records showed this mystery man had been funding quite a bit of her recent lifestyle, the expensive dinners, the shopping sprees, even part of the Miami trip. My wife wasn't just lying about where she was and who she was with. She was being financially supported by someone else while living in my house, spending my money, and playing the devoted wife. The investigator's final report landed in my email Monday evening. Photos, financial records, hotel receipts, everything laid out in precise detail. I sat at my kitchen table looking at the evidence of my wife's double life. Not cheating exactly, but something arguably worse. She was essentially living as someone else's girlfriend while keeping me as her financial safety net. The beauty of her privacy demand became crystal clear. She needed me completely out of the picture so she could live this other life without any risk of discovery. I made some phone calls of my own, first to a divorce attorney, then to a very special service. I need someone to meet my wife at the airport tonight, I told them. Someone who can serve legal papers professionally and discreetly. By Tuesday afternoon, everything was in motion. The papers were prepared. The process server was briefed. And I was ready to give my wife exactly what she'd asked for. Privacy permanent. Absolute privacy from her husband. She wanted to live a double life. Fine. But she'd be doing it as a single woman. Tuesday evening arrived with the clarity I'd been waiting for. My wife would be landing at 7:30 p.m., expecting her usual obedient husband to pick her up like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just spent 5 days living a completely different life. The divorce attorney I'd contacted Monday night returned my call at 8 a.m. sharp. Based on what you've described, we have a solid case, he said. The financial deception alone gives us significant leverage. When do you want to move forward? Today. I want papers served tonight when she lands. That's aggressive timing, but doable. We'll need to move fast. By 10 a.m., I was sitting in his office, signing documents, and laying out exactly how this would unfold. The beauty of having an investigator's report was that everything was documented. No he said, she said, just cold, hard facts. The financial aspect is particularly damaging, the attorney explained. She's been essentially defrauding the marriage by accepting financial support from another party while maintaining the facade of a committed spouse. Fraud? That was exactly what it was. How do you want to handle the service? He asked. She's expecting me to pick her up at the airport. Instead, she'll find you waiting with the papers. I want her to understand immediately that her little privacy experiment has permanent consequences. The attorney smiled. I like your style. Most people in your situation spend weeks agonizing over decisions. You've turned this around in 4 days. 4 days. That's all it took to unravel years of lies and set up a new reality. I spent the afternoon making practical arrangements, changed the locks on the house, transferred joint accounts to my name only, and documented every asset we owned together. If she wanted to live a double life, she could do it on her own dime. Around 3 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown Miami number. Baby, can't wait to see you tonight. This trip has been incredible. I've missed you so much. She'd sent it to the wrong person meant for her boyfriend, sent to her husband by mistake. I screenshotted the message and forwarded it to my attorney. More evidence for the file, I wrote. The irony was perfect. Her desperation to maintain complete privacy had made her sloppy. The very thing she was trying to hide became the nail in her coffin. At 4 p.m., I got another text, this time to me, landing at 7:30. See you at baggage claim like always. Can't wait to tell you about the trip. Can't wait to tell me about the trip. The trip she'd blocked me from knowing anything about. The trip that was supposedly none of my business. I texted back, looking forward to hearing all about it. You'll have quite an audience. She responded with a heart emoji. Adorable. By 6 p.m., everything was in place. The attorney was headed to the airport with a process server and a complete legal package. I was at home, finally relaxed for the first time in days. My phone rang at 6:45, unknown number. This is the process server. I'm in position at baggage claim B. The attorney is here with all documentation. We'll approach as soon as she appears. Perfect. Her flight should be landing any minute. I hung up and poured myself a whiskey not to celebrate but to mark the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. At 7:25, my phone buzzed again. The process server. Flight landed. We can see passengers coming down to baggage claim. Should be any minute now. I could picture the scene. My wife probably texting her boyfriend about how she'd pulled off 5 days without her husband suspecting anything. Walking down to baggage claim expecting to see me waiting there like a faithful retriever. Instead, she'd find 2 strangers in suits with legal documents and a very different kind of welcome home message. At 7:40, my phone rang. Papers served, the attorney said simply. She's not taking it well. I imagine not. How bad is it? Let's just say airport security is keeping an eye on the situation. She's demanding to call you, claiming this is all a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding, right? She'll try to contact me, I told him. Block my number, show up at the house whatever it takes. I won't be responding. Understood. We've advised her that all communication needs to go through our office from now on. I hung up and sat back in my chair. Done. 5 days of privacy had bought her a lifetime of it. My phone immediately started buzzing call after call from her number. I let them all go to voicemail. Then came the texts. What is this? Call me right now. This is insane. I can explain everything. You can't do this to me. I turned my phone off. She'd asked for privacy, and now she had a complete, total, permanent privacy from her husband. The house felt different now, not empty, but clean. Like I'd finally swept out something that had been contaminating the air for months. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight was mine. The first night of my new life, free from lies, deception, and someone who thought privacy meant living a double life. She'd gambled everything on my stupidity and lost spectacularly. Brought a new reality. My phone showed 47 missed calls and over 60 text messages from my wife. I scrolled through them while drinking my coffee, watching her emotional progression from angry to desperate to manipulative. "You're making a huge mistake. I can explain everything if you just call me back. Please, we can work this out. You don't understand what you're doing to us. I'm staying at a hotel downtown. At least let me get my clothes." The final message, sent at 2:30 m.m. "Fine. If you want to throw away our marriage over nothing, that's on you. Nothing." 5 days of lies, financial deception, and living with another man was nothing to her. I forwarded the entire message thread to my attorney and got back to my morning routine. First day of freedom, and I was going to enjoy it. Around noon, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw my wife standing there with 2 suitcases, looking like she hadn't slept. I didn't open the door. She started pounding. "I know you're in there. Open this door right now." I opened the window upstairs. "All communication goes through my attorney. You know this. Stop being ridiculous. I live here too." "Not anymore. Check your legal papers. You were served with temporary restraining orders along with a divorce petition. You're not allowed within 100 feet of this property." Her face went white. She hadn't read the paperwork carefully enough. "You can't do this to me. This is my house too." Was your house. Past tense. You made your choice when you decided privacy was more important than honesty. She pulled out her phone and started calling someone, probably her boyfriend, crying about how her plan had fallen apart. I watched from the window as a police car pulled up 10 minutes later. 2 officers approached her. I could see them checking the restraining order documentation. They spoke to her for several minutes before escorting her off the property. One officer rang my doorbell. "Sir, she's been informed about the legal boundaries. If she returns, call us immediately." "Thank you, officer." That afternoon, my attorney called with an update. Her lawyer contacted us. They want to negotiate. What kind of negotiation? She's claiming the relationship in Miami was platonic, just a friend helping her through a difficult time in the marriage. She wants to return home and work things out. I laughed out loud. "Did you show them the photos?" I did. They're now claiming those were misleading angles, and that nothing inappropriate happened. And the financial records showing he paid for her lifestyle? They're calling those gifts from a concerned friend who saw she was unhappy. The creativity was impressive, but I was prepared for this. Tell them I have more evidence they haven't seen yet. The investigator was thorough. What kind of evidence? Hotel room service charges for champagne and romantic dinners. Spa packages for couples. Activities booked for 2 people throughout the week. And the text message she accidentally sent me yesterday, calling someone baby and talking about missing them. There was silence on the other end. That's comprehensive. It gets better. I also have phone records showing months of calls to this same number, often late at night. Credit card statements showing romantic restaurants here in town that I never went to. This wasn't a vacation fling. This was a long-term affair she was funding with marital assets. Jesus. She really thought you were that oblivious, apparently. Brought a new strategy from her legal team. My attorney called early. They're going for the emotional manipulation route now. She wants to meet with you personally, no lawyers to explain her side. Absolutely not. I told them that, but they're persistent. They're claiming you're being unreasonable and not giving her a chance to save the marriage. She had 5 days in Miami to save the marriage. She chose differently. There's something else. They've asked for an emergency hearing to contest the restraining order and get her back in the house temporarily. This was expected. Desperate people make desperate moves. When's the hearing? Tomorrow morning. Judge Martinez, fair but no nonsense. Our evidence should speak for itself. Good. I want this settled quickly. I got a call from an unknown number. "Don't hang up, please," came my wife's voice. I borrowed someone's phone. I hung up immediately and blocked the number. 5 minutes later, another unknown number. "Just listen to me for 2 minutes." I hung up and blocked that one too. Then came the text from various numbers. "You're destroying everything we built. I made a mistake, but we can fix this. You're being cruel and vindictive." All I wanted was some space to think. Space to think. 5 days in Miami with another man was space to think. I forwarded all the messages to my attorney with a note, evidence of harassment and violation of no contact order. Arrived with the court hearing. I dressed professionally and drove downtown, ready to face whatever manipulation she'd prepared. My attorney met me outside the courtroom. She's here with her lawyer and about 6 family members for emotional support. They're going for maximum sympathy. Let them. Facts don't care about feelings. When we walked into the courtroom, I saw her immediately. She had dressed conservatively, minimal makeup, playing the role of the wronged wife perfectly until the judge saw the evidence. Hotel receipts, photos, financial records, phone logs, text messages, everything laid out in chronological order, telling the story of a calculated deception. Her attorney tried to spin it as a woman seeking emotional support during a difficult marriage, but the judge wasn't buying it. "This appears to be systematic financial fraud," Judge Martinez said, reviewing the documents. "The petitioner has provided substantial evidence of deception and misuse of marital assets." My wife's face crumbled as the reality set in. Her family members looked shocked, probably hearing the details for the first time. "The restraining order stands," the judge ruled. "Respondent is prohibited from contacting petitioner or returning to the marital residence pending resolution of divorce proceedings." Game over. As we left the courthouse, I could hear her crying behind us, surrounded by her family members demanding explanations. My attorney walked me to my car. That was about as clean as these things get. She played herself. "Privacy," I said. She wanted privacy from her husband. Now she's got it permanently. The drive home felt like victory, not because I'd won, but because the truth had won. And sometimes that's the same thing. After the court hearing, I thought the drama was over. My wife had been quiet, her lawyer handling all communications professionally, and I was settling into my new routine. Then Saturday morning changed everything. I was having coffee on my back patio when I heard voices in my front yard, multiple voices getting louder. I walked around to see what was happening and found my wife standing on the sidewalk with her mother, sister, and two people I didn't recognize. They were clearly preparing for some kind of intervention. "There he is," her mother shouted when she saw me. "The man who abandoned his wife over a simple misunderstanding." I stayed calm and pulled out my phone, ready to call police if they crossed onto my property. "Ladies, you're all welcome to stand on the public sidewalk, but this conversation isn't happening." My wife stepped forward, tears already flowing. She'd rehearsed this. "Please just give me 5 minutes to explain. Everyone deserves a chance to tell their side. You had 5 days in Miami to work on your explanation. How did that go?" Her sister jumped in. "She made a mistake. People make mistakes. You're supposed to forgive and work through problems." "Which mistake are we talking about?" I asked. "The lying about where she was going, the blocking my number, the secret boyfriend, or the stealing marital money to fund her double life?" "It wasn't like that," my wife cried. "You're twisting everything." "Am I? Because I have hotel receipts that say otherwise." Her mother stepped forward with righteous anger. "Marriage is about forgiveness. You took vows. So did she. How did that work out?" One of the strangers, apparently her cousin, decided to try a different approach. "Look, man to man, she screwed up. But destroying a marriage over one bad decision seems extreme." "One bad decision?" I couldn't help but laugh. This was months of calculated lying. She planned this trip for weeks, bought new clothes, arranged financial support from another man, and blocked her husband to cover her tracks. That's not one bad decision, that's a lifestyle. My wife was sobbing now, but I noticed she wasn't denying anything specific, just crying and hoping emotion would override facts. "I was confused," she wailed. "I didn't know what I wanted. I needed space to figure things out." Space, right? Is that what we're calling 5 days with another man now? Her sister got aggressive. "You're being cruel. Can't you see she's sorry?" "Sorry she got caught. There's a difference." I looked at my wife directly. "You want to explain your side? Fine. Explain why you thought blocking your husband while you lived with another man was acceptable behavior. It wasn't like that. Explain why you used our credit cards to buy lingerie for your Miami trip. You don't understand. Explain the text message you sent me by mistake, calling someone else baby and saying you missed them." Her face went white. Her family looked confused, probably hearing about this for the first time. "Explain why your girls' trip involved only one plane ticket and a hotel room booked for 2 people under another man's name." The silence stretched out. Even her mother had stopped talking. "I can't," she whispered. "Right. Because there's no explanation that makes sense except the obvious one. You were living a double life, and you got sloppy." Her cousin tried to salvage the situation. "Okay, so she messed up big time. But you're her husband. Don't you want to try to fix this? Fix what exactly? The lying, the cheating, the stealing, or just the getting caught part?" My wife looked up at me with desperate eyes. "I'll do anything, counseling, therapy, whatever you want. Just give me another chance." "You had chances. Every day for months when you could have been honest. Every night you came home pretending to be faithful. Every morning you woke up next to me knowing you were living a lie. People change, her mother shouted. She can change. You're right. She did change from someone I could trust into someone I can't. That's not reversible. My wife stepped closer to the property line, her voice breaking. What about all our good times? What about everything we built together? What did we build? I built a marriage. You built an elaborate deception. Those aren't the same thing. So that's it? You're just going to throw everything away? I looked at her for a long moment, this woman who had shared my bed while planning vacations with another man, who had blocked my number so she could play house with someone else, who was now crying because her carefully constructed lies had collapsed. I'm not throwing anything away. You already did that when you got on that plane to Miami. But I came back. I chose you. You came back because this was your safety net. You never chose me. You chose security while you explored other options. Her family was getting restless, realizing this wasn't going according to plan. Fine, her sister said. Be stubborn, but don't come crying to us when you realize what you've lost. I know exactly what I've lost. A wife who thought I was too stupid to figure out her lies. And I know exactly what I've gained: my self-respect. My wife made one final desperate play. I love you. Doesn't that count for anything? You love the life I provided, the house, the security, the safety net. You don't love me. If you did, you wouldn't have needed to block my number to be happy. She had no response to that. The divorce papers are filed. All communication goes through lawyers. This conversation is over. I turned and walked back toward my house, leaving them standing on the sidewalk. This isn't over, her mother shouted. I paused and looked back. Yes, it is. She wanted privacy from her husband. Mission accomplished. As I closed my front door, I could hear them arguing among themselves on the sidewalk, probably trying to figure out where their intervention went wrong. The answer was simple. You can't manipulate someone who knows the truth. And the truth was that my wife had made her choice long before Miami. She'd chosen deception over honesty, excitement over commitment, and another man over her husband. Now she was living with the consequences of those choices, just like I was living with the consequences of mine. The difference was I could sleep at night. The divorce was finalized. My ex-wife had tried every manipulation in the book: tears, threats, family pressure, even showing up at my workplace. None of it worked because I had something she couldn't argue with: documentation of everything. The settlement was brutal for her. The judge ruled that her financial deception constituted fraud, which voided her claim to half our assets. She walked away with her personal belongings and a harsh lesson about consequences. The day after the final decree, I got one last text from her. I hope you're happy now. I was actually not because I destroyed someone, but because I'd refused to let someone destroy me. I ran into her at a grocery store. She looked different, older, worn down. She approached me carefully. How are you doing? She asked. Great, you? I'm managing, living with my sister while I figure things out. I nodded politely but didn't offer sympathy. She'd made her choices. I want you to know I'm sorry, she said. Not just sorry I got caught, but really sorry for what I did. Okay, do you think maybe someday we could talk as friends? I looked at her for a moment, this woman who had blocked her husband's number so she could live with another man, who had stolen marital money for her secret life, who had lied for months while sleeping next to me every night. Privacy, remember? You taught me how valuable that is. Her face fell as she realized what I meant. I hope you find what you're looking for, I said, walking away. As I drove home, I reflected on the whole experience. She'd asked for privacy from her husband, thinking I was too weak or stupid to do anything about it. She'd gambled that I'd accept being treated like a fool. She lost that bet spectacularly. Some people learn the hard way that actions have consequences. My ex-wife learned that lesson when she found divorce papers waiting for her instead of her doormat husband. She'd wanted freedom from accountability, but accountability had found her anyway. Now I had a new life built on truth instead of lies, built on self-respect instead of being someone's safety net. My ex-wife got exactly what she asked for: permanent privacy from her husband. She just didn't expect it to come with permanent consequences. The funny thing about respect, you can't demand it, manipulate it, or fake it. You either earn it or you lose it. She chose to lose it. I chose to keep mine.